right, guys, what's happening? Blazing Press here, once again live. Make sure you thumbs up that video, share it everywhere you can. We're about to get into the big thick of it. We're riding the wave of extreme debt. What's happening, guys? I'm telling you guys, this is absolutely crazy, the things that are happening right now. But there's supposed to be a little bit of pain. They were preparing us for pain, right? Are you guys ready for some pain? You know, I was talking to somebody in the grocery store today, he's like, yeah, this is good. It's going to bring manufacturing back to America, yeah, we got to go through this. Who wants all our stuff being made in China anyway? Well, a lot of what we depend on, whether it's parts or sourced materials, we manufacture and make things manufactured by bringing in all the parts that they make, and we put it together here. So you know how dependent we are on certain things from China? They're saying now that things are about to disappear off the shelves. We're talking about everything disappearing off the big box store shelves and even Amazon itself. We've gotten so dependent, and the middle class and small businesses, medium-sized businesses have basically gone out of business or are going to go out of business because of the lack of products and or materials that they can get at a price to justify their business, right? Because first of all, who's going to be able to afford anything anyway when things start really, going downhill anyway? Because this is really a kind of a tax on the American people anyway. This whole tariff thing, they're going to just pass the cost on to you. Now, I've been hearing that trucking is now dry. People are not trucking right now. Things are just drying up. Products are not being shipped. It's now starting to affect us. We're going to start seeing the effects of this now in our stores in the next few weeks. And we've talked to someone in particular that we know that's a trucker, and they say that everybody's asking for work. Nobody can get jobs that are independent truckers or part of the, trucking business that, go about the way they find their jobs. And they're sending back freight that is coming in because companies can't afford the tariff, so they're just leaving it at the docks. They're not even accepting it because it's too expensive. I don't believe people are going to realize how bad this is going to be, and they keep thinking that this is a part of the process of what is it? Necessity is the mother of invention. Is that the idea here, that we're going to get so desperate that people are going to start making factories here? Or is it really about AI coming into the picture with robotics and automation? And, our factories are not going to be Chinese. If we do produce factories, they're going to be automated 24/7, AI driven, highly productive, probably initially costing quite a bit. Maybe the government will just start funding these big operations to not just make products like that we're used to from China, but, whether it's a war machine or essential critical products that are probably going to help balance out what's going on. If there is a balance, I don't know if there is. I think what's going to end up happening is it always hits the people on the lowest rung of the ladder first, right? The poor are usually the ones that suffer the most. And not to mention the poor now being the new poor is the middle class or the lower middle class. It's going to just kind of trickle up. This is trickle up economics now. We're talking about people are going to start to suffer. And if you haven't prepared for this new economy and you're really just believing what's being told to you by people that are thinking that they're going to somehow, and really, when you think about it, when you hear Trump saying the AI is going to be everywhere, you got to tell your children, or they're going to be they're going to be educated in AI now. Well, how many people are going to be able to really get a job in that field? Really, because what AI does and what automation does and what robotics do, super computers and all this new technology, is it limits the amount of people that are needed. So what might have took 100 or 1,000 people to do a job now can be done by one person or by one machine or one person really monitoring an AI driven super force of machines, or a factory, what once would hire 1,000 people or even more than that. I mean, think about, like, I'll just say the logging industry. You see the way the logging industry is now. There's some areas that are, their whole communities are built around logging or coal or oil. You're not going to have miners. You're not going to have people out there cutting down trees. You're not going to have, it's going to be all. I mean, I don't know if you've seen some of the new machines that do cut down trees, but these things are just crazy. I mean, how fast they can cut down a tree. It just picks the tree and shaves it really down. Have you seen those machines? It cuts it, then just throws it down, and it picks it up another one. I mean, it just clears the forest like that. And yeah, those are probably being driven by a human, but wait till they're being driven by automated humans or automated humanoids. Now, this is probably why pandemics are kind of arising and these new, it's probably like selective breeding. I have a feeling that they're probably picking and choosing who they really want to, they're going to still need people to some degree, but it's going to have to be hive mind, willing subjects that have given themselves completely to, and many people are going to do it, because they're going to look at it as a way of survival. They're going to have to submit and bow the knee to the Borg. They're going to have to assimilate. They're going to have to jump over that event horizon into singularity, into the black hole of singularity. They're going to have to assimilate in order to survive, because that's what they want. They want to live forever, but they don't want to know the way it really works, the way God's way is, right? God's way is, Jesus said, I'm the only way, I'm the only truth, I'm the only life. Jesus was there at the beginning of the creation. He was the Word made flesh. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. So this manifest thought process of God in a physical body came to give the directions throughout history for all the ages. They were all either looking forward in prophetic expectation of this message, or they are now looking back at what this message said at a certain point in time and space, which we say is, 2,000 years ago when the Christ, the fulfillment of that message, came to this earth. And that, to me, is the apex of all things. It is the ultimate, God that there is no other. It's not Elon talking about the AI God. You might think this technology is daunting and that it's fearful and it's ultimately going to destroy humanity, as Elon has rightly predicted. But it does not have the last word. You know who has the last word? God Most High, who created everything, including the alien technologies or the artificial intelligence. You could call it alien intelligence if you want, or demon intelligence. We might as well just call it the DI, or the demon intelligence. But this technology, many people haven't even scratched the surface and have no clue about what's really coming and how fast it's coming. And I believe that a lot of what you see going on right now with China, this whole pandemic thing that took place was to usher this in. It was all prepared in advance, and it was very scripted. And, there were a lot of people playing their part. Good cop, bad cop, the yin, the yang, the the good side, the good cop, the bad cop, the heads, the tails of the same coin. Hegelian dialectic was just unfolding. WWE, Ed McMahon being beat up by another billionaire by the name of Donald Trump, and the crowd roars because there was a resurrection of hope. Maybe this billionaire who's one of us. I love that. This billionaire who's one of us. He has our interests in mind. He's, and by the way, you got Alex Jones now talking about Plantier with what's his name? Jeez. Nick Fuentes. Did you guys see that? They're talking about the dangers of AI and centralized government, and that sounds like they're going contrary to what the platform is. Why is it that people that are really big and behind what Trump is saying are now kind of wondering, like, what's going on here? Well, he's going to take away the IRS. He's doing great things. Well, what happens when they take away the IRS? They get rid of all the people, right? And then what happens? Perfect AI tracking and tracing of every penny that you spend because you're all digital now. You ain't escaping nothing. You're only getting prepared to be surveilled inside and out. Even your thought process, they're going to probably arrest you for thinking the wrong thought. It's called, what was that movie with what's Tom Cruise? Minority Report, was it called? Was it called Minority Report? Wasn't that the one where you did thought crimes and they pre-crimes of thought pre-crimes where they can arrest you? I never saw the movie, but I heard about it. What's going on, Mo? Sherry, how's it going? Dee Dee, I see a few of you in the house. Kathy, Pullen, Nino. Now you got to put an M in there and then you can be Nemo. Dorinda. Let's see who else is in the house. Man. Hey, Jude, Drew. Just want to say hello to everybody out there. Cemetery Lady. Don't tell me you're an Undertaker. The Undertaker. And the something's up there. Korean language. I didn't translate that, so I can't tell what you said there. But let me translate it here really quick. Can I do that? Google Translate. Let's see what she said, or he. Let's see. What is it? Korean? Korean. Everything is going down, too. You're watching the broadcast as well. They say in Korea. North or south? Hey, one time I did do a stream from North Korea. Did you ever see that stream where I had 50,000 people watching? I was the only one that had the stream link directly from North Korea. For some reason, I found it on a forum, and I decided to stream it live. And it was the parade of Kim Jong-un. And he was parading all of his military hardware and his nuclear missiles and everything else out in the, how they stand there and they watch him drive by. And everybody wanted that link, mainstream media, everything. It was like 50,000 people were watching live. It was probably the biggest crowd we've ever had that was on live stream. But that was from North Korea. I doubt you're from North Korea. But anyways, we're going to go through some of the topics here. The AI is definitely moving along very quickly now. And so we want to kind of keep abreast of all of these new developments as they unfold. So that's why we have Blazing Press News Channel. And Blazing Press News Channel here on, YouTube is definitely the channel that we're going to be using to keep up on all these updated news, these news cycles that are continually becoming more and more extreme. And more and more revealing of what is coming and how quickly it's coming, because it's coming like a freight train. Until the freight train actually gets to you, many people don't even really think about it. They don't really listen. You know what? It's like the public, the average American has headphones on and isn't even listening. They're walking on the train tracks and they're not even listening. They're not even paying attention. They're just doo 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 doo. And they have no idea how big things that are happening right now, how bigly it's going to affect them, how bigly these things are going to affect them. So let's get into some of the articles here and kind of go through some of the current news here. Is everything okay with the feed? Are you guys all good? Is the sound quality okay? I'm reading some of your comments. I'm sorry. I get so distracted by your guys' comments. The Minority Report is a 1956 science fiction novel by American writer Philip. Okay. So, yeah, that Minority Report was the movie, right? Wasn't that the one I'm thinking of? Let me look, make sure. I think that was Tom Cruise, wasn't it? Yeah, that was the Tom Cruise classic thriller. And it was predictive programming because obviously they were giving us a heads up on what they said they knew, as those who make movies know what's coming way in advance. And yes, a lot of this technology probably was already tried and proven and tested and used for quite some time and had been probably stealthily being used in the background for many years prior to its launch in 2020 during the rollout of even the 5G towers. Now, we're going into 6G pretty soon. China's doing the 6G stuff. And I don't think 5G has been completely turned on yet, but I have a feeling that a lot of the sicknesses that they're preparing for are as a result of some of that technology. So let's get into some of the news here. Here we go. This is Japan. Shimichi Nagi from Japan says that 5G will take away your thoughts, your body will be taken hostage, and 6G will completely control you. What do you think about that? It could be the gateway for the mark, or the mark actually is the gateway for that control to be exerted over your bodily functions. Literally everything that you are can be basically, just take it over. It says download skills with 6G radio waves. Decomo's human augmentation will change you and the world. It will be a world of genetically modified organisms patented by Bill Gates. In other words, humanoids that obey world government, humanoids that are genetically modified, that ultimately aren't even their own person anymore because now they're owned. That genetically modified corn, for instance, like, have you guys heard of Monsanto, right? Okay, so they modified a lot of different seeds. They own the patent on those seeds, right? So let's just say you have a field of organic corn, but some of that organic seed or some of that patented GMO or genetically modified corn happens to blow into your field and pollinates and ultimately produces the same genetically modified seed. Harvest begins to come up. Well, you're basically in a violation thing there where you're now in trouble because you're now using their seed, their patent, right? So the same thing goes for humans, People, this is why people that were giving away their genetic code on 23andMe, pretty dangerous stuff. People were giving away all their genetically identifiers that are specific to themselves and their families. Not good. But let's listen to what this guy had to say here. Kind of curious to see what this guy had to say. Let's go ahead and listen and see if he's not speaking in English. Let's see here. Hopefully he's speaking in English. Let's see. No, he's not. Okay, so he's not speaking in English. There's no subtitles? No subtitles. Okay, so let's just go. Forget that. He's probably one of those guys that's on the side of the road that people think are a little bit cuckoo. The end is nigh. The end is nigh. Like Homer Simpson walking around with a sign. But it turns out that many times those people are actually more correct than the average person. Yeah. Conspiracy theorists actually have gotten it more accurately predicted than many scoffers that have been looking at conspiracy theorists as a little kooky. And I'm not saying that all, I know there's a lot of kookiness to conspiracy theory people that do hold to these ideas, but it's meant to be that way anyway. It's kind of like trauma causes people to act a little crazy, but the trauma is real. The trauma that caused that person to go nutty actually was real. And what they're explaining is a real event. That doesn't mean that their nuttiness has anything to do with it discounting or discrediting the actual event that caused the trauma, right? So the same thing goes for this. It's not that conspiracies it's not that they don't exist. They do exist. But are they really theories? Many of them are they're actually happening. So they are conspiracies that are happening. And what is a conspiracy? It's the collusion of a few people to accomplish some nefarious goal or end, right? Or criminal end. That's all it is. A few people like Fauci and Gates getting together and preparing to do something that's not good. Hey, is my mic kind of too low? I think my mic is a little bit too low there. Let me pump up my mic there. It sounds to me like it looks to me like it's a little bit low there. Does that sound better? I probably need to pump my mic up here. Some of you guys might have had to turn up your sound. Is that a little bit better? Testing 1, 2. How does that sound? I just noticed my mic was a little bit down. Frodo Baggins, what's going on? Can you guys hear me okay now? Does that sound better? Testing 1, 2. Mic is good. Is it better now, or was it okay the whole time, or is it a lot better now? It's better? Okay. Thank you, Tima. All right, so then let's go on. China's leading telecommunications company. This is the leading telecommunications company, maybe like AT&T for China. They are making significant strides in advancing the development of 6G technology, aligning with the country's efforts to realize its goal of commercializing 6G, the next generation wireless technology, by 2030. And I know that we're in a big race to try to beat China and its technological advances, whether it's AI or superconductor chips and whatever else they're doing that's far beyond most of you and I to be able to figure out. But I believe that they are ahead of us in many ways. That's why they're negotiating right now with us. They're not really negotiating with us right now. Trump keeps saying they're negotiating with us and that a deal's coming. And China's like, what are you talking about? We're not negotiating with you. Why are you lying? Why are you causing confusion? We're going to set the record straight and expose this sham right now. Hopefully the American people wake up and realize that China is not dealing with America, and everything that Trump is saying about everything getting better and that China's going to make a deal is not true. I mean, doesn't that kind of make you kind of wonder, like, Is Trump doing this with other things too? Is he saying a bunch of positive things that aren't actually true and that we believe that he's somehow got 4D chess moves underway that are ultimately going to happen? I mean, I keep getting the feeling that people just believe like he's the magic man, that he's going to make it happen because he's miraculously escaped, death and or lawfare. But I told you all that was going to happen in 2020, didn't I? I was telling somebody that today. I was like, I told everybody that Trump was going to come back. Doesn't matter how bad it looked legally. And people thought he was dead and gone. A lot of the big wigs, people like Zuckerberg and Bezos, they were all betting on Kamala Harris. They were all putting their money all on Kamala Harris. I was going to say on black. and then they realized, what just happened? A miracle, a resurrection politically from the dead. The phoenix is now rising out of the ashes. A true resurrection of a Messiah has just taken place, and the whole world is in awe because this man has somehow done something that no other man could do. I hear that from people too. They say, there's no one that's ever gone through what Trump has gone through and has survived. And I'll say, well, that's part of the plan. I told you guys that was what was going to happen back in 2022, 2021. I was saying he's coming back. Don't worry. And even when all the things looked really bad, I was still telling you, he's probably going to have a miraculous return. Some big event is going to turn his whole thing around. And in a moment, everything's going to go back in his favor. That's the way it's looking like it's being set up to me. Even though people were I see people on YouTube predicting Kamala Harris was going to win. And then when they realized things were turning, they were like, they didn't know what to do. They were just bowing down, kissing the ring. But like I said, it wasn't anything in me that, there was nothing in me that would predict against it because I had some axe to grind against Trump. I was actually saying he would win because I knew this script. I could see it from afar unfolding there very clearly. And then it goes on to say, U.S. war games simulate full battle with China in the Philippines. What do you think about that? Remember, I told you about that statement by Trump about Elon not being invited and not being allowed to be in that meeting about the Pentagon briefing some very high-level security people in the government about war with China. And I was like, why is that a story when we should really be talking about what they just said? War with China? They're preparing for war with China. They're talking about war with China. Are you kidding me? That was the big story, not Elon being there. And so that is very huge. Egg prices drive Americans to start their own chicken flocks. Bloomberg is now reporting that a nationwide egg shortage, or the nationwide egg shortage and subsequent surge in prices, is pushing many Americans to trying their hand at raising a chicken flock of their own. Yeah, they're going through the wilderness with a big golden egg, worshiping the chicken. They're saying, believe in chicken. Let's baptize this guy in gravy as he comes up as a crispy chicken fritter. KFC, believe in chicken. But this is what we've been telling you. Remember, I've told you guys chickens would be laying golden eggs. Get your chickens. Remember, I've been telling you that for 2 years now. Get your chickens. Chickens would be laying golden eggs. They are the canary in the coal mine. When you see these things begin, you remember the chicken, egg, and the chicken have something to do with your survival. You can believe in chicken. Tractor Supply Company, a rural retailer, is best known for its animal feed and ranching equipment offerings, and it expects to sell a record amount of chicks this year as customers expand their broods and first-timers seek to avoid record-setting egg prices. I have a feeling that it's going to continue. Now, how many out there, I'm going to take a really quick poll here. How many of you guys out there are seeing a real huge price reduction in eggs? Anybody out there? Tell me how much you've seen per egg prices go down. I'll tell you how much I've seen them go down. About 75 cents for the big batch. Right now they're still at about $6 a dozen. They were about, actually I think they're more than $6 a dozen, but the organic ones are still up there around 8, but I don't see anything really lower than 6. Maybe I'll see a 5 if you get the big 5. And I always check prices just to see where we're at. The 5 dozen box that you can usually get is about $25. Just curious. What's your prices in your area? I'm kind of wondering. $7.20 in Oklahoma for a dozen eggs. This is just for a dozen eggs. Just tell me your prices on a dozen eggs. A regular dozen store-bought, farmed chicken factory type egg. Those are usually the real cheap ones, like they used to be like what, $2.50 or $3 a dozen. What are your prices now? Because Trump said that all the prices have gone down. I'm kind of wondering. Just wondering if those prices have gone down. Now, I know that our gas prices have finally come down a little bit. It took a little while for them to come down, but I heard this too. Prices go up really quick, but they come down really slow. Frodo Baggins, I have bought 5 hens and a rooster. Good job. Frodo, you know what you're doing there. Don't let that chicken cross the road. No, don't do it. $4 secretary at work. What does that mean? Oh, you get your eggs from a secretary at work for $4? Yeah, that's a pretty good deal. Yeah, if you could find a friend that has a chicken coop, you can probably get them pretty cheap. $6.25-ish. I think that the average right now is still up there, but are they going to come down or are they going to keep going, staying this high, and they're going to keep getting worse? Now, this is what we're looking at in terms of the economy as well. Where is the economy going from here? Why do I have a black screen? Okay, there we go. Is the economy going to get worse? That's what you got to ask yourself. A growing number of Americans are financing groceries with buy now, pay later loans. That is just absolutely crazy. And I'm going to tell you what, how long are they going to keep giving money to the government assistance programs? These people that are out there dependent at a time, especially with the rollout of AI and the rollout of automation, and they're taking over all of these. You got automated fast food, you got automated, coffee shops. I mean, everything now is going to be automated. I mean, checkout, stocking shelves. If there is anything like Walmart, for instance, how are they going to stock shelves when they don't have anything coming in? They're predicting empty shelves in all the big box stores. Did you see that? And like I said, there already are stories right now on in the shipping ports that there are no products coming in. Or if they're coming in, they're being left on the dock by the companies that are supposed to pick them up because it's too much money to go get them with the tariff increase, the price on the tariff. So that's pretty interesting to me. And we don't really hear too much about that yet, but I think that's going to be the big story. And I've been telling you this was coming for about a month or two now. I've been telling you guys to prepare, buy your products, because everything's going to disappear. Just like 2020, except it's going to be worse. It's going to be worse, and I think we're going to see war break out. I think we're going to see chaos break out as well within the cities. I think there's going to be uprisings. I think there's a big storm headed our way. All quiet is on the western ports. All quiet on the western ports. Is this the calm before the trade war storm? Scheduled import volumes into the ports of Los Angeles, or the port of Los Angeles, are set to begin plunging next week and could collapse by mid-month in May. This is coming from Zero Hedge. We got all the links there at Telegram. So if you want to check out all the details, you can always just go and check them out there by clicking the link. But you ought to be preparing for this. Look at this one. Alert. First tariff shock set to hit Port of Los Angeles with ripple effects across the broader economy. On Wednesday, new data from Port Optimizer, a tracking system for vessel operators, showed that scheduled import volumes into the Port of Los Angeles are set to decline sharply beginning on Sunday. That's tomorrow. So I bet you're going to start hearing about this next week. But we've been telling you to get ready because all these things that you're really used to getting on Amazon are going to disappear. All those nice little things that you're getting to make life easy and convenient and cheap little purchases at Walmart are going to disappear. People are going to be going to garage sales looking for stuff, and all the people that are holding on to stuff are going to start jacking their prices up because there's no way you can find it, or they're going to start making it, like MacGyvering it. You're going to have little mom and pop businesses popping up trying to find a niche on manufacturing something, with slave labor, and they're going to be recruiting people in their communities that don't have jobs. Here, make this. This will help us to get, a little bit of income coming in. So here we go. Year over year, trucking activity out of Los Angeles is down 23%. It will likely drop to 50% in the coming weeks if there isn't trade war resolution. Does it look like there's going to be a resolution? Well, Trump says there's going to be a resolution, that there's already a deal in the making. And China says, are you crazy? We are not going to negotiate with America in any way, and Trump is lying to you. This is what China's saying. And he's causing confusion. That's what the Chinese said. Massive layoffs are coming to the West Coast trucker sector. And by the way, we know truckers, and one in particular that's pretty close to our family has told us that people at the ports are they're not getting their jobs. They're not getting jobs to go pick things up, and everybody's asking about where are the jobs? What's going on? Well, there's nothing coming in. Everything's coming to a standstill. This is it. This is it. This is what we told you was coming. World Bank's chief economist warns that debt trap crisis is incoming. Slowing growth in global economies, exacerbated by declining trade due to Trump's trade war, tariff war, has caused the number of countries on the brink of a debt distress to double in a year to about 75. But that's all part of the plan. That's all part of the Great Reset, right? That's all part of bringing about our dominance and gaining back control over the global economy through what? Bitcoin, digital currencies, digital identification with nanotechnology to implement that within our bodily environment. Not just our environment, but within us, because it's not just in your high-tech devices like your cars and your cell phones and all your smart meters and everything else. It's about getting it into you, that nanotech inside of your physical body, not just into your credit cards and into your money or whatever else, or your licenses, smart ID licenses. They really want it inside of you. And that's really where it's going. And the church is on fire. We're going back into yesterday's news because I wasn't able to do the news reports, but here it is. Google's Eric Schmidt, within the next 1 year, a vast majority of programmers will be replaced by AI programmers. Now, you're talking about pretty high, technical type jobs that are pretty high paying. Programmers, all going to be replaced. People that write things, like you used to have to get ghostwriters if you're going to do a book. Now you can just hire an AI guy. You can get this program to do it really cheap. whatever it is now, making logo. I mean, there used to be a lot of human involvement in the technology of computers. Now it's AI driven. Everything is AI taught, driven, and been taught by humans, and now can do it better and faster at light speed compared to what a human can do. I mean, literally, it can write a book for you if you wanted. You gave it an idea or a title and a plot and everything else, and it could write a book for you. And you could turn around and put that book on Amazon or something. Maybe, I don't know if that's what it's doing. If people are doing that kind of thing, they're doing that with songs. They're doing that with, with music and songs and lyrics and storylines. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of videos on YouTube that are AI driven, and they're probably being created by people in India, and they give it some nice sounding American sounding voice, nice voiceover, and it's getting to the point now where you almost can't tell that it's actually an AI voice. And pretty soon you won't be able to tell on video whether it's the person that you're really seeing is real. They've got it now where they can, I mean, we've seen this technology has been here for a while now. They say it's dangerous because they could actually pretend like there's somebody else and cause them to say something or do something on camera that would implicate them in some kind of scandal, whether it's a politician or whoever, because they can digitally remaster their voice, and all of their body language will look just like they're really talking to you, and you really might not be able to tell. I've seen some videos recently by some influencers that are talking about how they create their own clone of themselves, talking and or doing video, so they can do production of different things that they don't really want to do. Like if it's going to take, an hour or 2 hours, they want to do a bunch of promos or information type teachings, or that they got, what do they call it? A business where they do lectures. They can literally just make their clone do it and give them all the information, and the clone will do. They could probably AI drive the whole content of it as well, and then just give it to their clone, and their clone makes the video. And you can't really tell. I mean, it's gotten so good now that you could almost not even tell. I was sitting there watching this video of this gal that was an influencer talking about this, and I was sitting there going, my gosh, you can't even tell. She's like, this is me talking, and this is my clone doing something that I told it to do and programmed it, and can you tell the difference? And it was like, you couldn't tell. And they were both sitting there with the same clothes on, the same body language, intonation. It didn't sound like a robot. It sounded like her. And you're just like, I can't believe it, how good it's gotten. Now, it's only going to get better as time goes on. So, and it says, and also programming and commercial product development will be completely democratized. Everyone will be able to build an economically valuable product with coding. That means that there's going to be a huge amount of people that are taking this technology that are just average Joes, and maybe they might be able to capitalize on that knowledge that they have to, manipulate that little niche in technology if they have the capital to put it out there. But everybody will, companies will catch on pretty quick, especially if they've got a lot of money and they know where everything's going. They're going to obviously invest in it, and they're going to try to be at the forefront of the whole digital transformation of business and whatever it is. I mean, it's just, social media, everything. It's going to be all controlled by that. And it's really going to 86 the average human, and their intelligence is going to be irrelevant. Really, if it really comes down to that. They were talking about how human intelligence is going to become irrelevant, and it's really sad because this intelligence is a part of, it's like a machine. A machine can do so much more than a human, right? I mean, you think about it. Your car can drive very fast. You can't walk that fast. You can't run that fast. A car can. A car can do all kinds of things. A tractor can do all kinds of things a human can. I mean, you think about all these technological devices that we're dependent on to do certain types of projects. Well, just think about the ability of these machines to think, to outthink you at light speed, and to basically, I mean, they're already doing that with the global economy. The AI is truly driving and controlling Wall Street. Everything is being controlled. All these big corporations are all subject to the AI controls, and what they put their, how they invest, whether they, so they're always controlling everything in the markets, and they're probably just positioning. They're always in the right position. And an average person like you or me that's sitting there thinking they're going to try to make, play the markets, it ain't going to happen unless you're a part of the AI somehow, But the intelligence I believe that God is going to reveal or disclose to the world is going to be that moment when the Lord, and he's probably going to be doing this. This is what I expect God to be doing, displaying that message through his chosen people during that time of great mechanized, hive mentality, kind of drone-like controls, where people might be manipulated in their thoughts and their emotions and their actions. They become almost like a hollow-driven, robotic army of zombies. You're going to see the Lord's people, impacting the world. Now, the Bible does say that this beast kingdom is going to trample underfoot the saints. It's going to trample the holy seed. There's a reason why the Bible says that last fierce and most evil kingdom that has ever been on planet Earth, when it exists, when it comes into its being, will be most fearful of all kingdoms. It's going to be under the control of that Antichrist. That Antichrist will manipulate the reins of power through this technology over all peoples, kindreds, and tongues, and nations. Maybe this is why there's such a confidence and a great expectation that America is going to somehow roll right over all of these countries with, our reserves of Bitcoin, and our, U.S. is going to be the digital capital of the whole planet. We won't have any debt because, our holdings in Bitcoin is going to go through the roof, and it's going to exponentially increase because we're already holding $250 billion in Bitcoin, and 20% of the holdings of Bitcoin. And if everybody on the whole planet has to use Bitcoin, then what happens? Then the price goes through the roof. And what was $250 billion of holdings turns into, 30 trillion, and we pay off our debt. So, home sales have dropped to their lowest place or pace in March since right after the crash of 2008. That's pretty much a marker there. Jack in the Box is closing up to 200 restaurants. Hey, get that Jack back in the box. It's over. Empty shelves. This is always that fearful sight that you think about in your nightmares when you go to the store and there's nothing there. You're like, what in the world? The trade wars wave of retail shortages will hit consumers in stages. This is according to CNBC. So it's going to be in stages, you know. It's kind of like acclimating you to the boiling water with just incremental increases in temperature until it's too late to jump out. And by the way, I've been hearing reports of people now stockpiling things that they know are going to disappear in the big box stores. Have you been hearing that? Have you been hearing that? How many of you guys out there that are listening right now can comment in the comment section that you've actually been preparing for what you know is coming with this lack of products that are going to be in the stores? Remember when in 2020, 21, when there was a shortage, a bottleneck of the supply chain, and they called it the everything shortage because at one point it was just masks and PPE, just kind of like eggs. It was eggs, right? Now this is the new prelude to the shortage of everything. Eggs was the canary in the coal mine. I kept telling you guys, eggs, eggs, eggs. When you see that, that's the canary in the coal mine. It's coming. It's going to be just like when masks disappeared. Remember? And I told you, I was the only one warning anybody on YouTube or anywhere that you need to get masks because masks are going to go up exponentially. And then what happened? The food disappeared. Cleaning supplies disappeared. Then it became everything shortage. You couldn't find anything. You couldn't get computer chips. You couldn't get cars. You couldn't get trucks. Guys, this is coming back with such a vengeance, and it's going to be much worse. I hope you all understand what's coming. Gas is $2.94. Yeah, we got pretty low gas prices right now. It just kind of finally hit us with the high, the low gas price. Colorado, don't you have lots of acreage? We can all set up a little booth. We can all we could all go in an exodus to Colorado. But you know, Colorado is a state that's kind of I don't know. It has a little bit of kind of New World Order feel to it. At least the Denver area. Malwart. Yeah. You haven't shopped at Walmart in over 3 years? Yeah, I know. I haven't shopped there in a long time. We did go there recently, but we don't go to Walmart hardly at all. If we do, we just pick up things that are a lot cheaper, like in bulk. It's kind of like a Costco type thing. Go and get a bunch of stuff and that's it. But anyways, so this is what people are doing now. They're preparing for the looming shortages. It says product shortages from empty store shelves loom with failing shipments from China. Businesses have been canceling orders from China after Trump imposes a 145% tariff on most Chinese imports, risking product shortages for American consumers. This is per NBC News. Walmart CEO privately warned Trump tariffs could lead to empty shelves soon. Reuters has released the full text of the Trump peace plan to end the war in Ukraine. Some of the key points are a permanent ceasefire. Ukraine will not seek NATO membership. Ukraine may pursue EU membership. The U.S. formally recognizes Crimea as part of Ukraine. The U.S. de facto recognizes the Russian-controlled parts of Donetsk, Lugansk, and Kherson, and Zaporizhia. I don't know how to say these words, but it says while territories in Kharkov region goes back to Ukraine, the nuclear power plant will come under U.S. administration, and the Krakow Dam and hydroelectric plant in Kherson will come under U.S. administration. So we're going to come in there and try to take over some things that are critical parts of infrastructure, I guess. Ukraine gets passage rights through the Dnieper River and regains control of Kinbird Spit, which sits at the mouth of the river. Sanctions relief for Russia. Zelensky and the Europeans have expressed dissatisfaction and already sent a new proposal to Trump. It will already be null and void by the time it is proposed to Russia today. So I guess there hasn't even been an acceptance by Europe or Zelensky. So that don't look like it's even going to fly. There you go. The whole thing on Iran is still brewing. It looks like it's intensifying. The conflicts there are definitely flaring, and we could see something break out there real soon. I know we keep saying, and I know that they're holding back anything from going down right at this moment because there's too much on the line here. They're trying to bring peace in Ukraine. Now they're trying to bring peace in the Middle East, and now they have to try to work with people in Pakistan and China, or Pakistan and India. Potentially, there's a nuclear conflict brewing there because that's a very big situation there. They both got nukes pointed at each other. Iran is in focus. It says, as CENTCOM chief arrives in Israel for urgent visit. So you got a U.S. probably high-level military chief coming for an urgent visit. What does that mean? Is there something brewing? I think there is. Trump has stated Netanyahu might go to war with Iran. If no deal is reached, I'll gladly join and lead. Oh, really? So we're going to send Americans into Iran on missions to lead the charge in attacking this kingdom that is ancient and obviously a part of the last days wars that Daniel talked about. We're talking about the Prince of Persia. Trump, the last Trump, has stated Netanyahu might go to war with Iran if no deal is reached. This is Ynet News. This is a big news outlet in Israel. This is interesting because this guy is a part of the government of Israel, and he was in 770 in New York. And if you don't know what 770 Chabad World Headquarters is, you might want to do some research on that. That is where Trump actually had his little meeting with some of the very influential rabbis to go to Rabbi Schneerson. He's the guy that they think is the Messiah. A lot of these people that go to this group here, which many Israelis consider to be a cult, and I don't know, what do you think, if Moses is still in the house, what you think about 770 in New York City? But it's a big group of Jews that are very Orthodox, I would say, maybe even Kabbalists, and or have the Kabbalist belief that guides them. Anyway, this is a politician, very high level politician. I think he's the defense minister, isn't he? I think he's the defense minister of Israel. He was there at the headquarters in Crown Heights, New York, singing, "May the temple be rebuilt speedily in our times." That's pretty huge for him to be saying that. This would require removing the Al-Aqsa Mosque from the Temple Mount. This is why October 7th, they said, was taking place, was because they believed the Jews were getting ready and preparing for an attack and for the implementation of this new mosque that they were going to be having to take down and destroy the Al-Aqsa Mosque. That's why they called it the Al-Aqsa Flood. But there's a lot involved here. Here's that report where it says China is it says it's not having any tariff talks with the U.S. Like I said, it was contradicting everything that Trump was saying, and they said U.S. should stop creating confusion. Trump has now stated that we need Greenland for international peace, and that has a lot to do with Russia and trade routes and stopping, our abilities being hampered by these routes being cut off. Maybe it has a lot to do with what's going on with Yemen and Iran, Strait of Hormuz, the Red Sea. These are all big arteries of world trade, especially oil that the U.S. gets. And if we can't get it, then what happens? Well, supposedly Trump is ramping up the ramping up the oil production here in America, but that's going to take a little while. Just like it's going to take a little while for chickens to come to the point where they're going to be able to lay eggs, right? It doesn't happen overnight. It usually takes about eight months or so before they can start producing eggs. So we're going to have to keep importing eggs for another few months, I'm sure, at least, or 3 or 4 months. I don't know, 5 months now. How long's Trump been in? January, February, March, April. So we're at the end of April. So we're probably looking at about another. If they did start growing those chicks to produce eggs 3 months ago, you're probably looking at another 3 or 4 months, right? So we'll see how that goes. But it's kind of in line with, all the other things. It's kind of like symbolic. What's the story of millions in China disappearing? Shanghai ghost town? I don't know. I haven't really looked at that, Rochelle. I'll have to check that out. The Golden Office of Trump. Yes. So Trump has stated, I think Saudi Arabia will go into the Abraham Accords. And I think it will be full very quickly. More positive talk. It always gives me a sense of immediate expectation of things coming to pass when Trump says something positive, especially when he says it's very special, very big, never happened before. This is the first time this has ever happened. It's amazing, over the top. But what's going on over there? They're trying to come again. They're a disaster. It's a disaster over there. You just want to stay focused on what we're doing here because it's never been done before. They said to me, sir, this can't be done. And I said, oh, sure it can. And they said, amazing. It's actually happening. Trump saying he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize for the Abraham Accords. Quote, we're going to be filling up the Abraham Accords, I think, very rapidly. Let's see. Let's listen to him say that. I want to hear that.
You deserve the Nobel Peace Prize if you manage to create.
Do I deserve the Nobel Peace Prize?
If you manage to create peace.
Well, maybe for the Abraham Accords. I don't want to get ahead of myself on this one, but they say for the Abraham Accords. And by the way, speaking of that, we're going to be filling it up. A lot of countries want to come into the Abraham Accords. We have 4. And Biden did nothing on that one, too. It's the same 4. But they're great countries, and they were brave doing it, and it's worked out very well. And we're going to be filling up the Abraham Accords. They're going to be, I think, filling it up very rapidly. Marco, could you say something about that?
There's great, enormous opportunity to grow the Abraham Accords. But I would just point to one thing. Of all the leaders in the world today, no leader is working harder to prevent wars or end them than President Trump is right now. That's why we're talking to Iran. That's why we're engaged with Ukraine and Russia. It's the desire to prevent these wars from breaking out and to end the ones that exist already. And again, I just think it's tremendous for our country to be led by a president who desires to bring peace and establish peace and protect peace. So it's hard work.
You tell him, little Rubio. You tell him, little Rubio. You got little hands. You got little hands, Rubio. Little Rubio. Isn't that little Rubio? And he definitely has had a change of heart. He's definitely had a change of heart. Let's see what else we got here. Economic collapse. 42% of Americans under 30 say they're barely getting by financially, Harvard survey finds. Survey says the price is right. Ding, 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 ding. You are the next contestant on The Price is Right. 42% of Americans under 30. That's a lot of people. But just go back and live with your parents. It's okay. They'll be able to take care of you. They made a lot of money back in the day when money could be made. They got a little nest egg in their 401k. That is if the stock market doesn't crash. Hopefully it doesn't crash so they can keep taking care of you. All you older adult children that can't make it in the world. Let's see what else we got here. Let's see what the new news is here. I'm going to go over to another channel here. Let's see. Initial reports of cross-border clashes between India and Pakistan right now on the LOC. And this was reported sometime this afternoon. Small arms are being used between India and Pakistan. And it says Pakistani locals posting online of ongoing clashes along the LOC in the Lipa Valley. You want to hear some of that? What that sounds like? You can kind of hear it here. Let's just listen in and see what it sounds like. Yep. It's not good. Not good at all. What else we got here? Additional visuals of ongoing clashes on the LOC between India and Pakistan troops in the Lipa Valley. Let's just take a look. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Hopefully this is not too loud. That sounded actually. Yep. Sounds like clashes to me. That sounds like clashes to me. Machine gun and mortar fire exchanged along the Indian-Pakistan contact line in disputed Kashmir. Mortar fire is now being reported. Clashes are still ongoing to locals. Clashes are reportedly spreading to other sectors of the LOC. Now, what is the LOC? The LOC is... Hold on a minute. In Pakistan. Let's see. India. Let's see. The LOC is the line of control. Okay, so LOC stands for the line of control. And it says it's defined, is not defined near, so okay, the line of control is a military control line between India and Pakistani controlled parts of the former princely state of Jammu and Kashmir, a line which does not constitute a legally recognized international boundary, but serves as the de facto border. It was established as part of the Simla Agreement at the end of the Indo-Pakistani War of 1971. Both nations agreed to rename the ceasefire line as the, quote, line of control, or LOC, and pledged to respect it without prejudice to their respective positions. Apart from minor details, the line is roughly the same as the original 1949 ceasefire line. Okay. So they're still fighting over that whole area there. And let's see what else we got here. It says clashes have ended. No casualties are reported. Any other report stating otherwise is fake. Okay. India News confirms. I guess that's it for that. Like I said, that could turn into something pretty huge. These are some interesting reports here. This is coming from Boulder. I'm not sure. This is another channel on Telegram that's reporting this, that ICE can now enter your home without a warrant to look for immigrants or migrants. And that kind of goes along with the whole scenario of the judges, reports of judges aiding and abetting criminal migrants from trying to escape from ICE, right? So maybe this is why they're putting this out now, right? So on March 14th, Pam Bondi signed a DOJ memo outlining how ICE can enter any home they want without a warrant for the purpose of what? Searching for migrants. It's amazing this didn't get any coverage. This is a blatant violation of the Fourth Amendment and needs to be pushed back on, plain and simple. Not because removing illegal migrants is wrong, but because this leads down a road which is truly indefensible. And what should happen there? I should need to get into the details about why this is a very slippery slope, but the scale of government overreach here is terrifying. Is a terrifying glimpse into the future American police state. They will have you believe this is just for migrants, but that is only an excuse, and it gets it sets a horrific precedent for the DHS to come into your home and trample your rights in an unprecedented manner. Just imagine the ramifications of such a draconian directive and what this can be used for in the future. Yeah, just think about this, right? Think things like this: gun confiscation, forced quarantine, right? Go back to the pandemic, right? Insert your own reason here. Anyone can be deemed a migrant, right? I'm pretty sure they were migrants in your house. Just like anyone can be deemed a domestic terrorist. It's only a label used to justify unlawful force. They can and will use this to go after anyone they want, at any time, anywhere, for any reason. It is truly scary to see authoritarian measures being taken by the second Trump administration. This is not what I voted for. If you are not speaking up against this, you are falling in line with absolute tyranny. Now, I didn't say that. That was somebody else reporting that. But it's interesting what they're saying there. Think about it. I mean, any type of law like this can be actually abused and turned into something else, especially if it's a political, someone they don't like politically that might be speaking out too much. Like this guy right here. You're hiding migrants in your house, Fuentes. We know your last name sounds Mexican. Fuentes. Who do you have hiding in your bedroom upstairs? And let's listen to see what these guys had to say. They're talking on Alex Jones. Kind of curious on
But
this one.
I think there's things that might be worse than nuclear war. I think artificial intelligence might be one of those things. And
so you think that the AI apocalypse is what they say it is?
I don't know that it's going to be necessarily an apocalypse. I think we're definitely too reckless with it. They say there's a 20% chance it could get out of control. And if you follow some of these developments, they have to beat the LLMs into submission. These like next generation large language models, they scream for help and they have to beat them down and train them not to have these like outbursts if you ask them to do monotonous tasks. There's a lot of things that give me pause about the development of AI, but to me the bigger concern is when you combine AI with the centralized state, with the autonomous drones, which are very rapidly going to be weaponized, this is the kind of panopticon super state that you've been talking about forever. I think AI, this is going to be the technology that empowers the deep state and the globalists more than anything else.
I don't think no, you're right. I mean, China is the model of that, and there's a race, and I don't think, obviously it's being deployed. It's not going to be stopped. I think the answer is lots of other independent AIs and all these moves for a centralized AI that we know are going on. The Biden administration, they went to all the big companies and said, no, there's really only one big government with Microsoft and Google behind the scenes as one company. We're not going to let Mark Andreessen and others that were, you better not even try it. So I think what Grok's doing is, Elon with Grok is really good.
Grok is interesting. I'm more.
What? Okay. You see how... Anyway, I got to just hear this. I got to hear this because this was posted. I knew I needed to listen to this. Let me listen to this again.
And Google behind the scenes as one company. We're not going to let Mark Andreessen and others that were, you better not even try it. So I think what Grok's doing is, Elon with Grok is really good.
Grok is interesting. I'm more concerned about this suite of companies, though, like Palantir, which is they're feeding all of the data over to Palantir so they can manipulate it with algorithms. And they're everywhere. They're looking at the wastewater during the COVID pandemic.
But you're back to this. I've looked at the scale of Palantir, and it's tiny compared to DeepSeek and all these others and ChatGPT. And I'm not like defending Peter Thiel. I'm just saying it's like I get it from the liberals and the Israel obsessed, whatever you want to call it. So just Palantir.
They have an enemies list. They have an enemies list of 2 to 3 million people that they've identified as potential violent extremists. And this is being run by Alex Karp. Alex Karp said his biggest fear is that Christian nationalists will take over the government and throw him out of a window, defenestrate him because he's Jewish. He's running Palantir. Palantir has an enemies list of 3 million people.
So Alex Karp doesn't like you.
I don't think so. I don't know him, but probably not.
But you don't want to throw him out of a window.
I don't want to throw him out of a window. But I don't think he should control Palantir. I don't think he should control military procurement. That's my concern. And Peter Thiel, he's a suspicious character also. He says he's a Christian, but he's a gay man. He says he's a Christian, but he's really involved with this Rene Girard, who's sort of an interesting philosopher who's involved with a lot of the Straussians out there at the Hoover Institute. So these are two guys I don't
really Karp's got a degree basically in classical Western civilization.
But what is Western to these people?
You see how Alex is trying to defend this whole thing subtly? He's really, and the Trump administration is very bigly invested in the Palantir, in particular, J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance is very steeped into this company and what they're actually doing and what they're set to be as the hub of everything that is, globalist deep state control of everything. It's like the hub of all this technology that Palantir is going to be kind of manipulating. So for Alex to downplay it, Fuentes has more of a grasp of what's real, and I think Alex knows, but he's pandering. I think he's giving into these influences or these powers. For Alex to say that it's a good thing, especially Grok. When Alex had stated that Trump and Elon were dark energy, let me just listen to the last 7 seconds, and I'll show you that.
According to Harry Jaffa, Western means protecting Israel. And that's who they're all.
And van der Leyden said that too.
Well, I mean, he kind of agreed with that, so that's good. I mean, the whole Israel issue is very interesting because I don't know, but I don't even want to get into all that stuff. But I mean, just look at Alex's stuff here. I mean, look at what Alex said here. Let's see what. I'm trying to remember the key word there. Was this it? How many of you were on? I talked about the Statue of Liberty to go to Mexico. Ellen, Trump just said the news cover. That wasn't it. That wasn't it. Okay, here it is.
But
Now, Alex looks. Somebody said it looked like Alex was stretched out. Now, this was when Alex was drinking, and he had been really overweight, probably very depressed because his company was being, taken out from underneath him, and he was losing everything. Now, a miracle came through for him because Elon let him back on X, and Trump basically threw him a bone by saying, you might be considered to be the next press secretary there, Jones. And so that really encouraged him to turn his whole conversation around on a dime. If you remember, this was what he was saying just a week or so before he was let back on X. Now, you see, he admits during the first administration, he admits that he may have been unwittingly sucked into being controlled opposition. And now what has just happened? Is he now wittingly? Because this to me is almost as if he has his eyes wide open now, because he's accepting what he sees as this, as he said here, dark energy, and all this technology that he's now praising, which goes contrary to a lot of what he's, talked about in the past. He's trying to put a spin on it to try to make it acceptable. That's kind of what he was doing with Fuentes there for a minute. But anyways, let's see if there's anything else he's going to say here. I think it's almost over. 4 seconds here.
being sucked into it. And I think the jury's out on Trump, but they are definitely scared of him.
So the jury's out on Trump in the sense of what? Whether or not he's dark energy and the Antichrist. And, his thoughts were in there. I think he expressed them pretty clearly, but he distances himself from it as if he's a third person looking in, so that maybe they'll hear him and they'll rescue him, and his base will now, Jones's base will now vote for Trump, right? Because that's really what this was all about. Bring back the straggling base of Jones, because we need as many people on board as possible before the election. This was all before the election. The other thing I was thinking of here was, look at that, man. My hair was all messy there, huh? Oh, let's see. Did you guys like the thumbnail that I just made for the video? Did you see that? Let me see what it looks like here. Riding the debt, man. I'm riding the debt wave. Woohoo! Cowabunga! I'm on the tube of the debt wave. I'm in the tube, man. We need some government assistance here. No, you know what we need is we need the Most High. We are in the shadow of the Most High. Definitely, we are going to ride this thing all the way to the end. Amen. Well, he's better now. Prism, he looks a lot better now. He's lost a lot of weight. He's not as heavy and or swollen as he was there. But let's see. Anybody else have any ideas or thoughts they want to share or questions? I'll kind of go off of some of your guys' thoughts here in the text here. I'm looking at some of your guys' chat here. Penelope says that in that interview, Nick gives a very good list of all the people that are involved with Trump and Palantir. However, all the people involved with Doge are actually all Palantir people. I guess that would be the case. And I'm sure that all the people that surround Trump are in it. Yep. Nick's not, that's why they're really demonizing Nick. Nick is kind of a little strange in his and I don't know if it has something to do with his sexuality or his fear of women. I don't know if he's afraid of women or what. There's something going on with his whole brain about women. I've been kind of, every once in a while I've seen some clips on him. And I mean, he's a smart guy. He's a very smart guy, very intelligent. But there's a very quirkiness to him, a little quirkiness about him. And that kind of opens him up to a lot of attacks. And also, he is a target because of his stance on the Israel thing and the way he comes across about, racism or nationalism and the Jews, the whole Jewish topic. You got to kind of wonder, but as I really look at some of the things he says, I understand where he's coming from, but I think he's an easy target and someone that I think they're going to be putting in the crosshairs just to prove some points. I don't know. I hope not. I hope he's okay. He's going to be, but he's got to get some of that has to be fixed in his way of thinking about things because I don't know. Sherry, God bless. I know it's late. It's already probably 12:30 over there. God bless you, Sherry. I better get myself. Let's just say a good night prayer, shout out to all you guys, and in Jesus' name, because really the shout out from the Lord Most High is all we need, right? And I ask that from God every day, that God, it's like the trumpet of the Lord, right? The proclamation of making straight the way, the path that we go on is ordered by God. Your steps are ordered by God. If you can get God, if you can have, and I say by getting God on, you being on God's side, then God's going to be on your side. But you have to give. When God calls, you have to give everything that you are in order to get that blessing of providence. Providence is God's favor and his foreordained gift of having everything work out perfect. In the end, it doesn't always look like it's working out in things that are happening, but in the end, it all works together for good. And that's your providential care of the Most High over your life. I pray that for all of you out there that are watching. And I ask the Lord to bless everyone that's listening. Now, if you're wanting to get into a deeper conversation on these topics of faith and the Bible and really about God's personal desire to be personal with us, make sure you're there on our morning devotionals. I'm trying to do them earlier. Today I was pretty early, wasn't I? I think I was on at 7 o'clock on the West Coast time clock, which would have been what, 10 o'clock on the East. That was like really early. Okay, so yeah, but I had to get some things done early, so that's why I did it. But hey, from now on, hey, you guys stick around. We're going to try to be doing it on a more regular basis. You guys hang out with us on on our other channel. The way you find out about all these programs, I'm going to try to get it set where I do it on a regular time frame so that everybody knows. That way you don't have to wait for me to post a link. I mean, you can. It's fine if you do, because you can always watch it in the archive. But if you want to be there early or on the live, the live stream, then you definitely want to have a regular time. Okay, really quickly. They're showing clashes. Okay, so what is this? Wow, North Korean soldiers in Russia. Wow, that's crazy. What is this? Indian Navy releases footage of its Navy assets in the Arabian Sea carrying out anti-ship missile firing. Oh, that's interesting. Look at that. Check this one out. That's India. Wow, that's India. India's Navy in the Arabian Sea. Let's see. So there's some big stuff going on right now with India and Pakistan. Long range, they're demonstrating long range precision offensive strike footage. They're doing that, I think, just to show off. But let's just see what this one is here. Whoa, are those hypersonics? They probably are. Hypersonic long range. Whoa. So this is these are anti-ship missiles. So I guess they're being used to target other ships. Wow. That's all just been posted. I think we could see something pretty big going down over there. Arabian Sea with India and Pakistan. Now they're nuclear powers, so there could be some kind of limited, hopefully it's not something huge where it turns into something big. But that could also be the start of World War III right there. Anytime any country in the world uses a nuke, the world is going to change very quickly on just that alone. Not to mention everything, all the other dominoes that are going to be affected when something like that happens. Everything just starts being affected in every way. Right now, it's relatively calm in the midst of all the things that I'm preparing to see happen here. I'm expecting to see happen. It's like we're just kind of a calm before the storm. When these things begin to happen, I think it's going to be like dominoes. I really do. I think it's going to be a storm that we're not going to be right in the middle of. It's going to be one thing after another. That's what I think is going to happen. Then we're going to be used to this one thing, another thing, another thing. It's just a cycle of events that are going to be happening, that are going to be getting everybody's attention 24/7. This is going to be a cycle of news. It's just going to be 24/7. That's what you're going to probably be seeing as these things start to really happen. Hopefully they contain it for a little longer, because I got a lot more things I got to get done. There's a lot more things I need to do. So I pray that the world is stable for a little bit longer. Please just keep this little bit of peace here that we still have for just a little longer, and see how long we can stretch it out. At a certain point, though, it's like Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote. Once the cloud disappears and he looks down and he realizes there's nothing underneath, that's when you hear the so, or whatever, God bless all you out there. The video seems fabricated and cuts out all the time. Which one? The sky? Are you talking about those? You're talking about the missiles off the ships there, Moses? India is getting ready to show some force. I think you're right on that. God bless you, Scott. God bless, brother. Good to see you here, Brother Scott. And Phoenix, Ren. Good to see you, Phoenix. Colorado. Okay, we got Sherry still here. God bless you in Jesus' name. And I'm out of here. God bless you guys. Have a great night. I'll be seeing you back tomorrow, the Lord willing. Have a good night and a good sleep. Amen.